Hi, this is Phil from Northern LifeLock, and let me tell you, I had to get shipped to Australia because 7 kangaroos took me hostage and threw me in a black Dodge Ram. But guess what I had? I had Northern LifeLock. Not sponsored. Thank you. And this is over to another real story of one of our clients, Kim G.
Hi, I'm Kim G, and I recently went to Ross where I got hit with a book bag in the face. But luckily, I had Norton LifeLock, so I'm good to go. Not sponsored.
Yeah, so Philip here, we have so many more stories to go into, but we have breaking news because there was a fire from the dust from our fans getting into the kennel. It was going to burn down the whole set. But yes, welcome to the podcast. Definitely a very not orthodontic, orthodontics. No, orthodox.
Vince the orthodontist?
Orthodox, I think, is what I was going for. Type of podcast. Usually it's like, hello, welcome to our podcast. We have Gary the Snail. No, but it's, I don't know. I think the way that like introducing something that's new to individuals is going to be correlated a little bit differently. Like obviously every individual is going to have their own sense of personality, and I think what we're going to be bringing to this podcast is both like intellectual things that don't make sense for an obvious reason, and many other things. Like there's been a lot of people that I guess just have influence over you, like obviously within your environment, like work, coworkers, all that type of stuff. And I think that's not talked about as much. A lot of it talks about like hereditary and family. And yes, although we have a similarity when it comes to what we believe our humor is, other individuals won't completely understand it to a certain extent. But the thing is that the value that we're bringing here is like, it's not just that aspect, because somebody's going to be drawn to this for that reason, because each podcast has that funny person, but then they're like, they were spitting something factual on there.
Yeah, we got a little bit of both on this podcast. A little bit of weird, funny, but also just us talking about, you know, things that we think about in our normal life. So a little bit of everything. Hopefully make you laugh, make you think, feel something, I guess. Yeah. So I guess introductions, as the orthodox way would say it. I am Spencer. Most of y'all, at least that will see the first podcast at the beginning, will know who I am in some sort of aspect. And I'm Christina. I don't really know how to introduce myself. But for those of you that maybe haven't caught on yet, we are brother and sister. And yeah, we just kind of wanted to make this to just talk about random things, because this is what we normally do in our day-to-day life. So we just thought, why not bring it to an audience?
Because like the talk I find is interesting with each individual. Like what I do personally, I do what individuals would know as Instacart grocery delivery service. Obviously you know about it, but a lot of things are like go into that where you have a lot of communications with a bunch of different individuals. Like I've had people that I've talked to for 6 hours and ate dinner with. Like that's crazy to go through an experience, because it's like, how often does that actually happen in a scenario like that, where you would take the time on both parties to do that? Because like they weren't anywhere near my age. Like I've had individuals that are like that, and they will usually offer me something because of my age, but it was different with these individuals. It was just like basic questions turned into like philosophical type of like questions. Like we started talking about numerology. They had a duck farm in the back. They had all of these different things. And I think that's a very interesting like thing to experience, because like you have something that I would consider typical. People go to like some sort of college, they have their group that they meet there, they have their type of deal, and they grow on within. Each person's still going to be unique in some manner like that, but like probability of that happening, like for instance going to a college party, there's probably millions of people who have done that, because millions of people are enrolled into college, and typically what is school known for? Social, being able to do that. But I think it's somewhat kind of deterred some individuals away. Like when you're in high school, they don't want you debating about the larger things in life, yet you might already know about it. So I think that in conversation, like that's just one way it's leading into a conversation. You talk about something that is going into the more political type of realm. But then you can have an entirely different conversation with a group of friends at a party, which is typically, people would know is drinking, maybe the pool if it's summertime and stuff. And of course the sorority houses and things. But like, how often do you think you see somebody like at the age of 18 just go run off to a farm and go help out farms around the country and have conversations with them and stay with them? I think that's a very interesting thing, because that's not something that actually like you would think occurs that much. If you were to compare the two, which one had more? People are more likely to go to a college party than do something like that. So everybody's uniqueness can be created afterwards. It's just like your main events that you do, like that's what draws you into the larger realm of the social realm. But then you start meeting more interesting people when you start to create those classified areas that are like personable to you, because your experience literally is the thing that shapes you going through life. Because school in some way is going to shape you as an individual, whether you were the bullied person, or you were the person who was bullying, or you were on the soccer team or the basketball team, or if you were just the nerd or the band person. Every person has a so-called classification, is what people would put it by. But the more unique your story is, the more that you are creating something new, I think, in society. And that's to have any type of consequence. That's not a good or bad thing, as in consequences, that's what's known. Like when somebody says that, there's a negative connotation behind that word automatically.
Yeah, I mean, there's good and bad consequences for sure. I think like, I don't like the stereotypical like, oh, this person's in this group or this person's in that group, because we're not just defined by like one thing. Like there's multiple different parts to us, and I think that's the big reason why I didn't like high school. Like everybody had their own group, like their own little thing going on, and like I didn't really have anybody in high school. Like I remember I would sit alone at lunch and I would like do my homework or like read a book, but I wasn't in like a group or a clique, and it was so boring. I hated high school. I wanted to get out so bad. I think senior year I only had half days because I took that career prep class, so like 3 of your class periods like were basically like free because you would like go to work. But
how did you use your time with that period of time?
Like just
because you had that time off, like from career prep specifically. Like what did you use that time for instead? Because typically, like as you were just talking about, somebody has their clique, so they're going to use that extra time for that. Some use it for work. And then some, like, what did you use it for?
Work, probably.
You don't remember?
Or just, like, going home to rest, because, I mean, I was a student and also at a full-time job at the same time, which, like, sucked, so.
Now, define that, because I know individuals are, like, full-time can mean, like, I got 20 hours.
Absolutely not. It's, like, probably 40 hours a week, if not more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. I was definitely, I mean, we were raised to, like, as soon as we turned 16, we had a job. Like, you go out there, like, you're starting to pay your own bills. Like, I had to pay my own car bill, my car insurance, my phone. When I turned 18, I had to start paying rent. Like, that's how we grew up, is to, like, you need to, like, work to make money to be able to support yourself, which, like, in a way, like, was good. Like, it helps you become responsible, but I think in a way, like, it also affected me, because I feel like I have a bad relationship with money now, because I'm like, oh, like, no, I can't spend my money on anything. Like, I don't, I have to just save it all up. And then I never, like, go out and do anything for myself or buy anything for myself, because I'm like, no, like, I need this money. I have to save it up. Like, you never know what's going to happen, which, like, I guess is good, but at the same time, it's like, now I'm not actually living. I'm just like, I guess living for like future me instead of present me.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, like money, how it's used, like that fear thing of not having enough, that's going to be your abundance versus scarcity mindset. That plays into multiple areas of life. But this one, like particularly with that, do you think that saving the money isn't something that is like beneficial to you? Do you think that you should be spending it and maybe being around people more socially?
Not necessarily. I mean, I like that I've saved up a lot of money, especially like, because there have been circumstances that have like happened, like, me needing to get a new car recently. it was good that I had enough money to save up to put down on a car, especially in, this economy, because these prices are insane. But I don't think it's necessarily like a bad thing per se that I save up like a lot of money, but like at the same time, like I'm also like not doing anything with it. And like I feel like once I get past like a certain threshold, I'm like, okay, now I can't go below this. And so that just keeps happening until I build up all this money. But then it's like the only thing I'm ever really doing is working then. Working a lot of hours, because OT is going to pay you a little bit more, working holidays to get that time and a half. But I just feel like I'm also like missing out on life. I feel like I missed out a lot on life as like a teenager growing up. And I think I already kind of explained this to you. But I felt like I kind of had to be like the parent. You and our sister like got in a lot of trouble, and I just felt like I had to like keep the family together. So I was like, okay, well, in order for that to happen, that means that I can't get in trouble either, because I don't want to be more of like a burden, to our parents. So I was like, well, that means I can't have friends, because if I have friends and there's a potential for me to go out and get in trouble, can't have a boyfriend because, the same thing. So I feel like I kind of isolated myself, and I didn't really get to like go out and like be a kid, and, because like when you're a kid, you're going to do dumb things. Even as an adult, we do dumb things. Like, it's just something that happens. But I felt like I kind of never got to do that. And then also with my relationship with money, like that wasn't good either, because I was like, well, now I'm really not doing anything.
Yeah. That's a very like interesting concept as well too, because like with all of that, like you have all of the things necessarily besides the thing that you were lacking, which seems to be that social aspect of things, being outside of that. And I had read a book recently about this, and it was what we kind of talked about earlier, the hereditary aspect. Like it's not just about the hereditary portion of like where you came from and all of that type of stuff. The book explains that it actually comes from the small things that accumulate over time. Because even like me as a child as well too, what I would do is I would bottle things up instead of actually expressing them properly. And that's what had these large outbursts at random times in doing the things that I did to get myself in trouble. And the thing was, I felt like doing that, I didn't know it at the time, but I knew that that was a part of my learning process. Is that if I didn't endure and actually make the mistakes of doing those things, because when you want something so much, you're going to just keep going toward it. And what's going to happen is people are going to try to attach on and bring that down in some sort of way. And it could be subtle as hell too. It could just be like, oh, you look like this. And they may have said that to you when you were in 3rd grade. And that wasn't even an insult necessarily, but it would be like, like they would call you ugly. And then it would stick with you because your idea and reaction to that has become that. It has become your world to see that from that lens. And that's the harder portion about like being able to adapt and communicate to people, which I believe is a larger problem, is that you can't express those things without them, I guess, not listening necessarily, but also like not taking the time for it. It's like, oh, we already talked about it, like it's resolved, when obviously the problem is still there and it consists there. And that's the thing, when you talk about the money situation, like it's seeing it from a pessimistic viewpoint. But it makes sense because you have to look at the past. You have to look at what was the individual like? Why are they tied around the money like that? And it's interesting because when you chose not to make those types of mistakes by doing those types of things, you were going to have your own consequences that came with it. Like, yes, you didn't get in trouble and have certain punishments, but that took away from what happens coming up, because what happens in the present is going to dictate the future. Because you can be future thinking, you're like the dreamers, what they call it. Oh, I could do this, this, this. That is wonderful. You should have ambition and drive to do that. But the difference is you can't show it through your words. You have to show it through your actions, which is what Dad has reaped onto me consistently, which is actions speak louder than words, because they do. And that's the only way it's going to happen. But I think first, at least during that time period that we were talking about in the teenage years, you have to go understand yourself. And you have to understand yourself through other people. And that's what you got to lack, because you don't know where your development could be today if you had consistent relationships with individuals back then. And that is something that you had lost. But again, something lost is something gained, because that makes you more of you. You got to focus on that. You didn't get the social presence, and maybe you are not socially adept in every scenario because you have to learn through experience, but that doesn't mean you necessarily can't do that thing unless you limit yourself to that thing. But then I'm sure the question is to everybody is like, how do you go do that? Because you're just like, okay, do I go to Topgolf and like kick it with the homies? And it's like, who's the homies?
Well, that's the thing. Like when you grow up with like no friends, it's like, especially like for somebody like for me that didn't go to college, like I didn't get to form those friendships in college. So it's like, who do you become friends with them? Because the only thing I do is go to work. And like, yeah, you can have work friends, but in my experience, work friendships tend to get a little complicated. So, do tend to kind of avoid those now, but
it won't be like entirely, but because you have to meet those people. I've had multiple scenarios, whether it's somebody who's older than me or somebody who's younger than me, because in a way somebody's looking for a resource that you have, whatever that may be. It just may be your presence, of energy being there, because their intentions will show afterwards by the actions that they take to continue that type of relationship. But you can't write off that work friends are like that, but that is all you have to work with in your own personal experience. So
yeah.
it makes sense.
Not to say that you can't have work friends, because I mean, I still have people that I talk to that I used to work with. We're not like super close or anything, but we still talk and like hang out every now and then. But I feel like a close friendship with a work person, especially if you still work with them, can be kind of complicated. In my experience.
I feel you. Although I don't directly work with him, but Marty would be that individual, because we are very good friends. We have been since literally, we've known each other since middle school, not entirely, but then really knew each other going out of high school. Like the people that I ended up with high school friends, not the people I was anticipating when I went into high school. It was that last like couple years, because everybody was trying to figure out what they're gonna do and stuff like that. But with Marty, I mean, we've been through a lot of different things, a lot of different situations and scenarios with one another. And we have this problem at work sometimes where both of us, we'll just start arguing and getting mad at each other over the most petty shit. And it's because we have too much communication going on between one another, and that can be harmful to the situation. There's also another reason, which I would pay homage to GG33, because it comes from numerology. Me and him are not good numbers together when it comes to with relationships. We're supposed to be enemies in a manner, but again, you keep your enemies closer if that's the case. I don't consider him one, and I don't think he considers me one, but you always have to be vigilant of the individuals that you are around, because as you know through your own relationships that you had to endure.
Yeah. This is why I feel like I don't follow so close with like numerology or zodiac, because I feel like it's not like 100% accurate, because you have people that like will be friends or even in like relationships that are supposed to be like opposing signs or like enemy signs, or like they would be horrible together, but like that do really well. That's why like I don't 100% believe in it, because it's like, especially with like regular zodiac, I don't know too much about numerology, but with like your regular zodiac, like your Aries, your Gemini, Sagittarius, all those, I feel like they're very basic, like they're very like general. And it's like, yeah, somebody could be like that type of person, but I also feel like it's based off of like your experiences, like how you grew up will like shape the person you are versus like what day you were born.
100%. And the thing is, even with the shaping of that, like understanding how a person is formed without all of that stuff, that is in itself a tool to your understanding, right? So that's how those are approached as well too. Although you may not be correct about that thing being like, you have a Sagittarius, which is a water sign, and you take a Libra, fire and air can make a whirlwind that's really chaotic, is something that they present within astrology. And sure, you can see relationships where it's like, okay, that's true, because you got that information. But again, how accurate can it actually be? Again, something can't dictate what you do, but you should use that information as like, okay, as a building block to your character in some way. Because the thing is, that information may seem pointless until you actually use it at a time when in conversation with somebody just because you know that knowledge. You can actually learn more either into it or about something else entirely. Because that's the beautiful part about like just information in general, is that it can be useful in conversation no matter what individual you're talking to. You can know how this pumpkin is operated on the table, and somebody's gonna be like, oh my God, I got the same pumpkin. And then same with the hello thing. Somebody can say that these things are like, they have that similarity. That's what makes an individual want to talk with one another. But then that deeper insight of information, that's what helps boost conversation, because you're not working off of that material necessarily. You're working off of multiple materials. Like for instance, where we differ a lot is you know a lot about pop culture. That's something I do not know a lot about. But if we were to talk about cars, that would be the exact opposite, because I have experience and I've paid time to doing those things, just as you have as well too. Same with going back to the money scenario. You paid your time to be able to save that up because you don't know what it's going to necessarily be for, but you know that you have it. And you know that you can support yourself in that manner. Because there will be scenarios where people are like thousands in credit card debt and have all of that type of stuff. And those are things that are like them, but they may think of it optimistically. They're like, now it's a drive for me to get out of that type of thing. Just like money can be for that scenario of being able to communicate with others. But I think through, the communication of the numerology, astrology, it's not perfect in any sort of manner, but it is a great tool in terms of like maybe understanding why somebody acts a certain type of way. And I use numerology for this in a certain type of manner, of course, from GG33, because that information I've used personally as I've endured throughout my life, and I've noticed that I'm like, those individuals are like that. That's weird, like how it has that accuracy, because I can ask somebody's like birthday and get the life path and be like, interesting. And I meet them on days that are that same day. Most of the time, there's maybe 2 out of the 20 that it's happened to. So it's a high percentage. But again, what is that in terms of scientific type of stuff? They're going to be like, well, you're doing like a survey almost. And that's not a very sightful, I guess. Something that somebody wouldn't cite, basically. I'm forgetting the word right now. But they wouldn't use that information as like, oh, okay, that's a great test. And they're going to be like, yep, it works. Unlike how scientists do it with certain types of things that we can and can't consume. Now, they're not perfect either, even with that, because there is a lot of hidden things that aren't actually shown on specific things for that reason. But that's where, again, information can be useful in any sort of concept.
I mean, nothing's perfect. Not the science way or like the beliefs way. Like, that's why you kind of just gotta believe, like, whatever you feel is right. Like, I don't think that science is ever 100% correct, but I don't think that like the other side of it is 100% correct either. But I guess you just gotta believe whatever you want to believe. I mean, as long as it's not hurting anyone. I mean, and then we can get into like, I guess, discussion about opinions. Like, people get mad that people have certain opinions about things, but it's like, as long as they're not hurting someone, like, why does it matter? Like, if their opinion is different from yours, and people get into arguments over it, but it's like, you can listen to their point. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. Like, you hear their point out and you move on. You can still keep your same opinion. You don't have to continue to argue over it or be like, oh, I'm right or you're right, because I don't think there's a right or a wrong.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, technically, at the end of the day, there will be with something, like, depending on the scenario, because we may never know what that right and wrong is, but that shouldn't be the focus of the conversation, because we've had times where we get into so-called arguments, but I think we give each other time to explain the points, because the idea is actually to understand the individual, because they could believe something you entirely don't believe in. And it's like, okay, well, if you're not allowing them a chance to explain that because you're just yelling at them or being like, you're wrong, or not sitting there and listening, like, it may bug the individual to a certain point. Like, if somebody had like died from like tuberculosis and they had used one of the medications or something like that, the person's gonna be like, oh, you should never use those medications, and they're trying to take down the whole company and stuff like that. And it's like, whoa, like, was it entirely their fault? Were you to do something with it because you as an individual chose to take that route instead of doing something else? Like, at the end of the day, this is where that blame game comes around. Is like, who do you actually put it on? Because if you put it back into yourself, it can be useful, but it can also be harmful. Because if you think that you should just be like, yeah, I'm a terrible person, you just start accepting these things like at their face value is what you consider it. Like seeing that book by the cover and being like, it's terrible. It's like, no, you got to get more information going into that, because that's what you do on your phone, and this is what scares people. They'll be like, man, my chest is hurting. Let me look up stuff on WebMed. It's like, whoa, hold up. They're going to be like, you could die.
No, it's been like, you've been dead for 12 days, you're a ghost.
Wait, was that something that you shared previously? Like that information specifically?
What do you mean?
The person like, you've already died 12 days.
I mean, I'm sure I've said it before.
I feel like it's been used before, because I'm like, yeah, WebMD would be putting something like that. Not even just them. It's just like when you look at the first Google search, you're going to be like, really?
Where it tells you, call an ambulance right now, you're dying.
Yeah. And then you go over there and the ambulance is like, you had nothing wrong with you. And it's like, you
had heartburn.
You had a piece of turkey leg on the side of your lip. Is that right?
Why aren't you about a sober dog? I didn't know you were having turkey legs.
Didn't know you were cooking it up. Where was that Thanksgiving invite?
Maybe next year?
Maybe next year. I might have done some potluck, but next year I'm just going to come storming in. I want some pumpkin pie too. Come on. Fill up the plate. I'm bringing the basket.
Pumpkin pie is the best pie. I don't care what anyone says.
See, the thing, I'm a very big food person, so like depending on how the pie is made is how I'll typically go about it. Because
okay, we're just talking about a pumpkin pie in general. We're not talking about ingredients.
I know. But okay, just by taste.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just had to explain that.
No, we're going by looks. How does it look?
Dude, the pumpkin pie looks like, the Marshmallow Man. I want it. The apple pie looks like Oscar the Grouch. Don't want it.
Favorite pie though? Go.
Maybe pumpkin. The problem is,
maybe.
I said maybe, yes, because peach.
There's a peach pie? Like Princess Peach?
With Donkey Kong as the little centerpiece. Although that wouldn't be right. It should be Mario, but he took over the kingdom. Donkey Kong for life.
You said I'm a Donkey Kong fan?
Yeah. What's interesting is in Mario Kart, like, to actually win as him, you can win on like the 200cc, but you have to be him because it's so fast paced. And get yourself a small little cart, because then he's like, bim, bim, bim. But he also looks very funny because his cart is like what Toad would ride, but he's like sitting up on there.
They've actually said, like, I guess the best rider to ride with is Bowser, but you have to do it in like a specific car with specific wheels in order to win.
Okay, were you watching a video on this, or were you doing some test drives?
I actually, I had a friend that had a, what is it called? What are the new little things
The Switches?
called? The Switch, yes. And we would play Mario Kart on there and race each other. And I was always, who was I? I was Baby someone.
Baby Bowser?
No, it wasn't Baby Bowser.
Luigi, Mario, Peach?
Maybe it was Baby Daisy.
Yeah, that would make sense. I actually played it.
I think I was Baby Daisy. And I did pretty good, but somebody else was Baby Peach, and she was just whooping it. Like, she was just coming in first. Like, she would be in last for, like, the first, like, 2 laps, and then lap 3, and I'm like, dang.
Was this 150 or 200?
200
is the highest level.
It was probably both, because we played.
What do you mean?
We played, like, through all of them, almost.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, you said almost?
Well, we didn't complete it.
What happened? Rainbow Road.
Rainbow Road, by the way, the new Rainbow Road kind of sucks.
Trash. Absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Because it starts launching you up and then it doesn't have side areas, so you're just getting thrown off the map because the rainbow just continues. It's like a whole song that's playing.
I literally, like, I saw Rainbow Road and it's supposed to be, like, looking new and better. It looked so ugly. And then I started driving on Rainbow Road and I just kept falling off. I'm like, what do you mean? This is my favorite track. How am I falling off?
the one that you might be talking about too, I think it's Mario Kart 8, is the one where they have the old Rainbow Road, like what you would play on the DS, where you're in the lava levels. It would have a certain like music that would be playing like that. It's like it would be like kind of scary because the lava would come jump at you. But anyways, the track was set up like the old school Nintendo DS, because on the screen it would actually show which game it was from. Like in the top right corner, it would tell you where it's from. So that one, it was the Nintendo like 64 edition. They had that Rainbow Road, and then they had the Boo Boo one, which is the last one.
It's like a rainbow, but then it looks like it has like the silver grates on it. I'm like, this is ugly. It's just supposed to be a rainbow. That's the point of Rainbow Road. The movie did really good with Rainbow Road, though.
But why is it in outer space?
What do you mean? Rainbow Road is in outer space.
Wait, no, okay. Ma'am, I'm talking about actual rainbows.
Oh, you're talking about like logically Rainbow Road.
Yeah, like would rainbows...
This is Mario Kart. You think Donkey Kong is actually driving in a cart, racing people?
Facts. He has more ability than Toad. He's a mushroom.
What about Yoshi? You think, what is Yoshi, by the way?
A turtle.
No, Yoshi is not a turtle.
He's a salamander / turtle.
Look it up. What is Yoshi? He is not a salamander.
Wait, you know what's funny is me and Devin actually were looking this up not that long ago.
You need to know who Yoshi.
Because we were on that we were on that wiki thing. Whenever we went to the
Wiki how?
Yeah, no. The wiki one with Lacey Town. With Lacey.
Puppets? What was his name?
Pixel Stingy.
He was Stingy. Stingy is apparently a human, according to his wiki page. For those of you that haven't seen Lazy Town, there's 2 humans in it. One is Sporticus, and the other one is Stephanie, which is the girl that comes to town. Oh, and Robbie Rotten. They're right there.
Robbie!
Sporticus, Robbie, and then Stephanie, who's not in that picture. They're the only humans in that show. For some reason, Stingy, who's supposed to be a puppet, is a human on his wiki page.
And what's funny is because I remember we were talking about this, and I'm like, I swear Stingy's a human.
Literally, that's how the conversation started. We were on a car ride back to here from South Padre, and we were talking about Lazy Town, and you were like, Stingy's a human, right? And I'm like, Stingy's a puppet. And then you looked it up and it said he was a human. And then you proceeded to watch an episode of Lazy Town.
I watched multiple. It was like 5 or 6 episodes. I'm like, damn, Lazy Town's going off right now. So I have the answer. He's a fictional dinosaur.
I was gonna say he's not a salamander.
I don't know how it got. It's because he's throwing eggs. I think that's what's throwing me off.
Dinosaurs lay eggs. How the?
Well, is it? Do they? Do you have archaeological evidence provided for us?
It's literally what they teach you in like history class. Like the dinosaurs lay the eggs and then they hatch. You never seen Jurassic Park?
I have played Fallout New Vegas. Death claws are dinosaurs.
No, they're not.
They're superhuman spatial dinosaurs.
They're like mutated dinosaurs, maybe, because everything in that game is mutated because of the radiation.
Oh gosh, Neptune. It was falling. Okay, but we're gonna wrap it up for this first episode. But
Bro, why you got crumbs on your chair?
Y'all didn't even see me snacking. I wasn't even snacking, and somehow there's crumbs up on the chair. I was eating some crispy tortillas off the side of I-35, bro. They had a special dealer down there.
Special crispy tortilla dealer?
Yeah, his name was Crispy Tort.
Crispy Tory or Crispy Tony?
No, Crispy Tort.
Crispy Tony, I was about to rip off from Tony's Pizza.
It just takes over the shelves like Tony's gets wrecked because the company takes over them. Yeah, it's Crispy Tort's company. Yeah.
You need to clean your freaking chair, dog.
I do. I was sitting in here earlier and I was doing some work on this and
Crispy tortillas.
Crispy Tortilla came to the door. I had to let him in. I didn't tell you about this.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, he's in the air vent.
He was watching the whole thing.
Yeah, he was. He was also posting it for his Finsta.
What's his Finsta account name?
It's me, Crisp. And then ... Tort.
Okay, I'm gonna follow him.
Yeah, give him a follow.
What if there's actually somebody with that username?
Crispy, we just make it today. Crispy Tort, and it's just like a picture of my chair with the tortilla crumbs on.
Just every time, it's just a picture of your chair with more crispy
Or we
crumbs
just
on
post that for the podcast picture like every day. It's just like Crispy Tort.
Crispy Tort's back. Tune in.
Tune in, what's up? All right, but yeah, we're going to end it here. What was interesting about the conversation is that we actually hit all of the different things that we are going to talk about from it. Started with philosophy, ended with Crispy Tort. Like you can't mix that up.
This is, by the way, this is our like regular conversations that we normally have.
Yes.
Like this isn't like out of pocket for us.
I think it's a little bit less obnoxious, but that's why we have more coming. Because like some are going to be more toward that philosophical side, like how we started, and then some of them are going to be toward, the other side of it. So, yeah. Y'all stay tuned for it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I guess tune in for the next one.
And join in on the conversation. And you know what? Comment what you need. If you want to tell me I look like Dr. Phil's hairline, please.
Let him know.
Because yesterday we were filming it and I swear there was a bald spot on the back of the head. I was like, damn, cuz at this age, I'm only 6.5.
Bro, you've been balding since you were born.
Dude, that's facts. Well, you kind of are bald when you're born, so I guess I'm being born again.
Oh.
Tune in next week.
Bye, guys.
All right, adios.
Right there by your side. Can gangsters cry?